The following thoughts on Happy Hour do not represent Cox Media Group or its sponsoring. Anything you hear may and will be used against you. Thank you.
Feeling classy today? Sit down, pour a glass of wine, and listen to Happy Hour.
You're tuned in to Happy Hour, an hour where Happy rants about something. Sit back and listen in. Happy Hour is on now. Happy Hour is on now.
What up? What is happening? This is Happy Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe, and I am very honored about my next guest. He is the host of the Rizzuto Show on 105.7 The Point in St. Louis. Rizz is on the phone line. What's up, dude?
Ryan, what's happening, my friend?
How are you doing, man? I listen to you every day at the gym. Everything, man. I love your morning show's intro. It just pumps me up, man. I just love the show.
You know what? We were my crew and I were listening to your podcast the other day. I guess it was the podcast that you were talking about your win down there in Tampa Bay for that best of thing that goes on down there. Which congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
And at the beginning of your podcast, first of all, it was my voice introing you, which was great. I sounded terrific, and you were listing off your influences, and there was one omission. That was me. Although you did list Woody, and Woody and I did do a show together for a while, so I guess I'll piggyback on that.
I would have been here for like 20 minutes, dude. There's so many shows that influence me. It's almost not healthy how much radio I like, Rizz. I'm pretty sure you can tell by my timeline on Twitter.
You're a very rare breed. Is there really anybody into radio as much as you are anymore, including the people who are actually in radio?
I don't know. There's plenty of people here at the Bone that love radio, like Calta, Drew, Roger, and JP. But, dude, people that went to my radio school, man, they would, like, just put in the hours, and they graduated, and now they're not doing anything. It's like, I put in 1,300 hours, dude, after school. Like, for this business, man, you have to put in the hours.
You know, I think you and I both have very similar paths when it comes to getting your foot in the door.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you're from where? Chicago originally?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's not a Tampa accent right there. I can tell.
And then I moved to Cleveland, and I worked in radio there for about 3 months.
Right. And you work promotions right now, correct?
I get to like answer the phones for Roger and JP, our midday show, and then I sit in.
That's what I did, man. Yeah. I worked promotions for 5 years just to be hanging around the radio station.
Oh, I love it, dude. So much fun. You know what I mean?
Just to get my foot in the door, just to get noticed. There's a lot of luck that comes along the way.
How did you obtain that luck?
Well, I mean, people ask, like, hey, Rizz, what would you do if you weren't in radio? I don't know. I have no other real discernible skill, so I have no idea what I'd be doing. I got really lucky. But here's the thing. So my buddy had run into the music director at K-Rock in New York, because I'm originally from New York.
Okay.
And from the New York City area. And my buddy had run into the music director at K-Rock in New York, and we had just graduated high school. And I think it was at Toys R Us or something like that, and they were chatting, and his name was Mike Peer, was the music director at K-Rock at the time. And he goes, hey, we got some openings for internships at the radio station if you're interested. I see you're in college. So my buddy comes back and he goes, hey, man, I met this guy. He's talking about this internship at K-Rock in New York. And I listened to K-Rock when I was younger. And he goes, hey, man, you want to come down and just hang out with me? Just see what happens. I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll get an internship too, or maybe I'll get an interview too. So I literally showed up to the radio station with him I didn't even have an interview set. I just showed up. And then they interviewed him. He got the job. They interviewed me. I got the job. And just like that, I was in radio.
What's it like when you get that foot in the door? How nervous were you at that interview?
I really wasn't nervous because I didn't have time to be nervous.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know I was even being interviewed. Well, the funny thing is, because K-Rock was, at the time, the flagship station for Howard Stern.
Yeah.
So that was the Howard Stern building. Howard Stern actually broadcast from, those studios over there. So we get the internship, and about 2 or 3 months later was the Howard Stern birthday bash at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City in 1998. And my friend and I were asked to work the event as interns for a radio station. It was a big honor to even be associated with the birthday bash and to even be asked to do it. So my friend and I go down there, and we work our asses off. And my buddy kind of winds up missing at some point during the festivities. And people were looking for him, and they finally found him. He had snuck in his girlfriend, and he was banging her in the bathroom at the Hammerstein Ballroom. Well, needless to say, he got fired, and I kept on going. And he's not in radio anymore, and I'm in St. Louis now doing a morning show.
Would you say that radio sometimes gets to like people's heads once you get that foot in the door, like where your friend's banging out a girl in the bathroom? Like, would you say that's when maybe you have the passion, but you're a bit sidetracked?
No, that's not being sidetracked. That's just straight up stupidity. Like that just being dumb and making a dumb decision.
It is very dumb.
Being that, I was where I was, and I was interning with not the Howard Stern show. I was interning with the actual radio station and working with some of these DJs that I'd grown up listening to. And those guys will humble you real quick.
Oh, yeah.
As far as even just being around them. I mean, they'll put you in your place immediately. If you think you got a big head as an intern at that radio station, they will put you in your place immediately and bounce your ass if they don't like you. So it's not like it's walking on eggshells, but it's knowing your place. I think that's a big problem with a lot of the younger kids coming into the business now. They're expecting to be on the air immediately. And then they don't work their way up, and they don't work promotions, and they're not there handing out T-shirts and driving the van around, giving out stickers and doing the grunt work.
Dude, how about when they sue like Mary-Kate and Ashley or Howard because they had to work their ass off during the internship, but they weren't paid, even though during the interview, I'm pretty sure they said you won't be paid. Like, is this my generation being lazy, or is that just morons that represent my generation wrongly? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, what it is, it's a sense of entitlement for some people.
Yeah.
It's, you know what you're paid in? Experience.
Exactly.
That's what you're paid in. Dude, for the stuff I had to do, I mean, could never fly nowadays. And I'm not talking like an old man. Listen, I'm 37 years old. I'm not talking like, well, back in the day, I had to walk, 15 miles to school and, did my homework by candlelight. I mean, this wasn't that long ago. But, I mean, I was watching people's kids. I was picking up cars.
Yeah.
I was getting dry cleaning. I was doing whatever I could do just because I was asked, and I did it with a friggin' smile. Just because I enjoyed being there. And I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do with my life. Like, I want to be the guy behind the microphone. And, man, these people are having a great time, and this is what I want to do. I do not want to sit in a cube and put on a suit and tie and do that stuff. That sucks. I want to BS for a living. I want to talk up records. I want to be involved in music. I want to do cool stuff. So whatever I could do, I would do. And I did it with a smile. And you know what? It paid off.
Damn
right. I never complained.
Who were some of the shows that influenced you?
Well, listen, growing up in New York City, I mean, it was like Howard Stern. My parents used to listen to Imus.
Okay.
Don Imus in the morning. I remember listening to Cousin Brucey on the oldie station in New York City. And then there are some of the guys I got to work with. I mean, there was Kane, who was on K-Rock when I was there. Booker, who I would consider one of my mentors, who's now in Los Angeles. He was at K-Rock. I mean, I couldn't really pinpoint like one or two shows. There was the people, there was the DJs, there was the music I remember listening to on the radio growing up in those stations in New York City. And then when I got into radio, there was guys like Opie and Anthony. Man, I was the biggest Opie and Anthony fan.
Me too.
Back in 98, 99, when they were on WNEW, which was the same company as K-Rock, and they were up the street broadcasting. And there was this big radio war between the Opie and Anthony show, who was doing afternoons at the time, and Howard Stern, who was on our radio station, and the afternoon guy who was on our radio station at the time. And it was my job for some of the time the program director at the time for K-Rock was a guy by the name of Steve Kingston. And he said, hey, what I want you to do is I want you to monitor Opie and Anthony. I want you to listen to them, and I want you to, if they ever talk about us, blah, 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 I want you to document it. Well, I actually became a fan doing that. Like a fan having to be listening to that radio show. And one of the only times I was ever starstruck was I was picking up a radio station vehicle. It was parked underneath where the WNEW studios were in Midtown Manhattan. I remember it was about 7, 8 o'clock at night, just at the time as those guys were getting off the air. And I remember being in the parking lot, and I was walking down to the garage, and they were walking out. And I remember running into them. And, man, I was speechless. I mean, I'm a young kid, and these were gods to me.
What was it about Opie and Anthony that you liked so much? To me, what I loved about Opie and Anthony was it just had the vibe of two guys just like drinking a beer at the bar, ranting or interviewing people. Do you know what I mean?
And that's what it was. That was what I liked, too, because I wasn't really into, the morning show bits. And I was into, all right, Anthony was a guy from Long Island who I think serviced air conditioning units at one point and did impressions and was funny. And Opie was a guy who didn't give a crap about saying what was on his mind. I love that. And they, you know what? They seem to be having a good time in the studio. That's what I loved about it.
Is that what you try and do with your show? I get the same vibe with you and everybody there. It just seems like a bunch of people just hanging out, which is why I really like your show.
That's my goal every morning is to – it's not like a zoo type situation where it's wacky and it's a party every morning. It's not that. It's just 4 guys in the studio just BSing. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just 4 guys busting balls, having a good time, and being real about stuff without any bits. And I never have a lot of guests. And that's by design. Like, I never really have guests on my show.
Is there a reason, or are you just not that big into interviews? Like, I know you had Chris Canton on last week, so... Oh,
Chris Kattan.
That's what I meant.
From Saturday Night Live, yeah. That's actually a funny story, but years ago, there was Britney Spears at the height of her meltdown.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when she shaved her head.
Oh, yeah.
And, all that garbage she was going through. And she was on Z100 in New York City. And at the time, she was the biggest star in the world. And she was on and in the middle of her meltdown, and she was interviewed during the afternoon show on Z100. And the interview was an hour long. And they took a look, and this was right when PPM, the new rating system we're in now. This is when it was kind of first coming out. And they looked at the ratings when she was on. And you know what? The ratings went down. And you know why? It just it showed me that, okay, I could be into this person, or you could be into this person. That's 2 of us. But out of everybody, not everybody's into her. It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain because not everybody is going to be on. Not everybody is a Howard Stern interviewer. Okay.
Yeah.
There is only one Howard Stern. Okay. And when Howard Stern could make somebody who I could give a crap about interesting because they come on the radio. And with him, they open up.
Yeah.
If they're on the radio with Rizz in St. Louis or, Ryan Hoppe in Tampa, you know what they're there to do? Promote something. And that's really all they're going to do. They're never going to really open up. And if I'm in my car listening, who cares? Like, I don't care about that. I don't care about somebody coming on just to promote something. To me, that's filler.
Yeah.
Some people are good at doing those interviews and stuff like that. And some of them are will be able to hold my attention or the audience's attention for a while. But it gets, I don't know. To me, it's not lazy, but who cares about half of these people that want to come on the air?
What is the key to getting good ratings?
Being real.
Yeah.
Because people could see through the BS. Like, people could really see through BS. You need to be real. You need to be honest with the audience. You need to have a good time. And you need to be the escape, especially during the mornings. I mean, people are going to jobs that they hate, and they turn you on for however long they're in the car, just to get away from life and just to be distracted for a couple minutes while they're in traffic or before they do get to the job they hate. So we're there to entertain. Listen, I'm not a trained monkey. It's not like a wind-up situation, and it's dance monkey dance. but it's being real. It's four guys having a conversation that is interesting and that I hope you find interesting too. And without any crazy, wacky bits and without any of this cliched radio garbage that still to this day goes on.
What do you think of those fake bits that radio shows do?
I mean, you're talking about like the wacky stuff?
Yeah. Like War of the Roses and that.
I don't know. I mean, to me, I'm just not into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I put myself in the place of the guy that's driving in the car going to work. I don't want to hear wacky radio bits. It's done and over with. It's been done. It's been done to death. That's just not me. And I couldn't see myself doing that kind of radio and being happy with myself and putting down my headphones after the 4-hour, show and going, man, I did a good job today.
That's what I like about your show, man, is that it's one of the few left where it's just guys talking. Like we have that here at 102.5 The Bone and other places, but it's just guys talking. It's male-oriented, but it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't have bitch, It's just, like I said, dudes talking. So
what's amazing, I mean, you say it's guy-oriented talk, but we are number one with women across the board.
Really?
25-54, 18-49, 18-34. I mean, number one with women.
What is it like when you keep getting the ratings and it says you're number one? Do you get used to it? Do you learn to appreciate it? Or do you ignore it? Because I've had people on Happy Hour who say, oh, I just keep doing my thing. So how do you approach each ratings book?
Well, I mean, it's great. Hey, fellas, good job. Pat on the back. We still have a show to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
And let's not sit on our hands, and because eventually that rating strain will go off the rails if we just sit on our hands and do nothing to evolve the show and constantly come up with content and interesting stuff. Listen, man, I get up at 2:30 every morning. 2:30, my alarm goes off. I'm sitting at my desk at 3:30. I turn the lights on at the radio station.
Yeah.
And it's constantly looking for content. And somebody says, "Hey, man, you ever run out of stuff to talk about?" Never. There's never a lack of stuff to talk about. And we just got to keep that drive, keep that work ethic going. You could tell if you have a good show. You could tell if you have a bad show.
How do you get up in the morning? Like, is it coffee? Because I respect that, dude. Because when I worked for Rover in Cleveland, I would get up at 5 and get there by 6. And even getting up at 5 was hard. How do you get up at 2:30 and get to the point at 3, man? That I have some respect for you on that.
You know what's crazy? Somebody asked me not too long ago, I think it was yesterday or the other day, said, "Hey, man, do you ever get used to getting up that early?" And the answer is no. You never get used to getting up that early. You just do it. You just do it. The alarm goes off. You never hit snooze. You stick your, legs out of the bed. You go, crap. You get in the shower, and you go to work, and that's it. And it's funny. The other guys will start trickling in by, 4 o'clock, and nobody speaks for the first hour. Everybody's kind of just getting their legs. And around 5 o'clock, everybody kind of starts conversing and really waking up. But everybody knows what they have to do. Everybody knows what they're looking up. This guy knows he has to do sports, and this guy knows he has to do the celebrity news. And we're a well-oiled machine that just gets up very early. And when you do mornings, you learn to appreciate naps.
Yeah.
Dude, I took a nap today.
Me too.
Like an hour and a half long. Oh, it was awesome. And you got to go to bed early.
Yeah.
And you got to learn not to drink caffeine or take any caffeine after 3:30, or else you ain't going to bed.
Yeah, that's what happened with me with Rover, dude. You would take like an energy drink before you go to the gym or even pre-workout, and then you're not going to bed till 11, and then next day is rough. So what I want to ask you is...
Yeah, but the workout itself should get you going. You don't need an energy drink before you go to work out.
That's very true, man. You start pumping the irons.
Of course it's true. You get on the treadmill or get on the elliptical. That'll wake your ass up.
I swim laps, dude. Going back and forth, man. Hell yeah, it's awesome. What I want to ask you is, are there ever any days that your kids are really, I wouldn't say annoying, but they keep you up And is it hard when you're on the air? Do you ever have that moment when you go, crap, I'm on the radio right now because you're so damn tired?
I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old at home.
Yeah.
A 4-year-old at home, okay? I mean, I got 2 young kids. And I have a fantastic wife who knows I have to get my ass up early. So if the kids are out of control, she'll take care of the situation. Like she'll make sure I'm able to get my sleep. I mean, here's the deal. I put my kids to bed at around 8 o'clock every night, and then I go to bed myself. So it's like my wife tucks the kids in and then tucks me in. And then I'm ready to go to work the next day. But there are days where, we'll have a gig the night before.
Yeah.
And we won't get home until 10, 11 o'clock at night, and that alarm will still go off at 2:30. Like and I hate it. But you know what, though? On those days, I seem to have the better shows. I don't know what it is. I will go and I will be exhausted. But once 6 o'clock hits, man, I could be on 1 hour sleep. And once 6 o'clock hits, it's on. It's showtime, and you got to do it. And sometimes I feel myself so relaxed that I have the better shows those days because I'm not overthinking things. Sometimes you get in your own head and you overthink something. You overthink, your news segment, or you overthink your sports segment, or you overthink whatever. And when that happens, you have a tendency to screw up, or at least I do. When I'm exhausted, it's just kind of just going on instinct, just going with it. And I seem to have the better shows those days, but I don't want to make that a habit, though, because I do love sleep.
How did you meet everyone from the show?
Well, so there's me, and then there's my co-host Patrico, who, when it was the Woody and Rizz show, prior to it just being the Rizzuto show, he worked promotions, Patrico, much like myself, much like you. So I kind of pulled him from there because we needed another guy. I kind of got along with him. My other co-host, Jeff Burton, was at the radio station doing afternoons when I first started at the point back in 2003. And he was between jobs at the time when I needed another co-host, so he was available. And then my producer, whose name is Moon, he was in and still is in a couple bands, Story of the Year, and he's in Goldfinger, and he's in the band Greek Fire. And he wanted to kind of get off the road. He hates touring. So he became available and was interested in radio, so I kind of snatched him up. So it's the four of us and my intern from South Africa.
Ricky.
Yeah, all my interns are named Ricky.
How did you get that name? What's that bit about where every intern's name is Ricky?
Well, what it started with was our first intern was a kid named Zach. And by the way, every one of my interns has wound up getting hired at the radio station in some aspect. But so his first day, I introduced him, to the audience, and I thought to myself, I'm going to just call him by a different name just to see if he's got the balls to correct me on the air. And I'm like, hey, it's our new intern, Ricky. And he never corrected me. So we went a whole show, and I just called him Ricky the whole time. And afterwards, I'm like, you didn't correct me. And he goes, yeah, I didn't know. And I'm like, from now on, you are Ricky. From then on, it was just like every one of our interns is named Ricky.
What is the key to finding the best interns? How do you guys do that search?
Put out the feelers, post the job, and let's see who we get coming through the door. And It's got to be one of these unanimous decisions where we all kind of agree, because we work very closely together. We do not have a big staff. It's just four of us doing everything. People think morning shows have this big staff where you got, 100 interns and you have production people and you have, you just show up at 6 o'clock and somebody hands you a bunch of papers and goes, all right, here it is. We work very closely all together. So you get a vibe immediately when somebody walks into the room. This time around, I remember one girl came in to my office, and I'm pretty anal when it comes to stuff, like my things, like my desk. Like I have my papers where they're supposed to be. Like I'm like a super organized guy. Like I think it's an OCD thing, but So this girl walks in, she takes her keys immediately, and she just tosses them onto my desk. Like, hey, what's going on? Just tosses her keys onto my desk. Like, immediately you're disqualified. Like, you're immediately disqualified from this job. You could tell when you're going to get along with somebody. You know, there's that intangible thing. I mean, I can't really tell you, you know, what exactly I look for. I'm going to look for somebody that, you know, that is into radio. I mean, much like yourself, much like me, you know, has a passion for it, and who I'm going to get along with, and who will not annoy me at some point. But I mean, you can't really tell that, but you know, from the first meeting. But
so, how did you go from working promotions to then being the co-host of the Woody and Rizzuto show? How did that go?
You know, you and I are both at a disadvantage growing up where we did. So I grew up in New York City. You grew up in West Chicago, right?
Yeah.
It is next to impossible to get on the radio in a big market as your first job.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So working as a promotions guy at first, my first couple of years, and watching the DJs and wanting to be those guys, you know, they had helped me put together a demo tape. And it was one of those situations where, and this was no MP3s or anything. This was, I mean, literally put on a cassette tape, fake breaks, like fake me pretending to be on the radio, like going into a production studio and pretending to be on the radio and putting it on tape and putting a resume together and sending it out to as many radio stations as possible and seeing who would call me back. And I don't know, I maybe sent out 75 different resumes and tapes and 2 calls. You know, 2 people would call back. And somebody that called back at first was WHTG in Neptune, New Jersey. It was at the Jersey Shore.
Oh, nice.
And they were interested in doing and having somebody come down and do weekends. So I was like, great. It's not that far from where I was living. I was living in Manhattan at the time. I didn't have a car. So I said, yeah, I could do weekends. And I used to take the K-Rock van, and because I had the keys as a promotions guy, and I would take the K-Rock van and I would drive it down the New Jersey Turnpike to the Jersey Shore, and I would park the van behind the radio station building, do my weekend shift, and then drive the van back to the city. And I did that until I got caught by the program director, who happened to be on the Amtrak train at the same time as I was driving down the New Jersey Turnpike, and busted me, stealing the car.
How nervous were you when that happened? Did your gut just sink?
He called me into the office the following Monday, and he goes, hey, I looked at the promotion schedule. There were no promotions down at the Jersey Shore this weekend. He goes, and I saw you driving the car. Why was the car down there? And
Yeah.
I actually explained to him why I did it. And you know what? He was cool with it because he knew I was hungry and wanted to be on the radio and would do anything I could do, including steal a station car to be on the air. So I worked at WHTG for about a year and a half. And then I got a job at Sirius Satellite Radio for 2 years.
Really?
Somebody had been one of the programming directors, and this was when Sirius was brand new. I mean, the satellites were not even in the air yet. They had built the studios, and they were trying to fill up all the music stations with jocks. One of the people that was a fellow by the name of Don Kay, who was running the rock stations for Sirius. He happened to be driving on the highway at the Jersey Shore and turned on the station I was on, heard me on the weekend, got in touch with me and asked me if I wanted to come and work for Sirius. Mind you, I was still doing promotions at K-Rock at the time.
Yeah.
So I was doing promotions at K-Rock, and I was moonlighting as a DJ down at the Jersey Shore, and then I went to satellite radio. I was the first night DJ on the Octane Modern Rock channel.
Oh, nice.
Sirius. And, man, that was great. I tell you, that was awesome because I would go record. I was on 6 days a week. I would go at night and record all the shows. I'd go up there and record 2 shows a night. And I'd go in like the middle of the night and just go up there and just record shows. And I didn't think anybody was even listening at the time. But and the pay was fantastic. I was a young kid. I was 20 years old, 21 years old, making for what I thought was a ton of money. And I'll never forget, come tax time, and I go get my taxes done. And I was a private contractor, by the way, for Sirius. And I go get my taxes done, and remember, I'm a young kid. So tax guy goes, all right, we're done. I'm like, all right, how much am I getting back? And he goes, dude, you owe like $10,000. Because no taxes were taken out. I was a private contractor, That was a lesson learned. That's me going with my tail between my legs to my parents going, hey, can I borrow some money?
So now,
there you go. They learn these lessons. So I'm working for satellite radio and working promotions still at K-Rock and kind of hanging out with all the DJs. And Woody was doing late nights at K-Rock. He was doing 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And he had come from St. Louis and got a job working at K-Rock because he's a New Jersey guy. And his dream was to work in New York. So he wound up not really digging doing the late night gig and went back to the Point in St. Louis. And we kept in touch. And he always told me, and we would talk every so often, and he always goes, hey, man, if there's a job opening out here in St. Louis, I'm going to call you, and I'm going to fly you out here for an interview. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And at the same time, I'm doing the Sirius satellite thing, and I'm like, man, I really want to get my own air shift, So there we go with the tapes and resumes again, sending them out everywhere. I remember I had a job interview in Burlington, Vermont, and I go up there for a job interview. It was terrible. The radio station was inside a house, and the guy's like, hey, just make sure when you open up the door, don't let the cat out. And I'm like, oh, this is not going to work out. So finally, Woody calls me up, and he goes, hey, man, the night girl here at the Point quit. We want to fly out for an interview. So I'm like, oh, man, Missouri? I'm like, oh, it must be a lot of cows everywhere. It's going to suck in the Midwest. So we flew out there, or I flew out to St. Louis, and I met with Tommy Mattern, who's, still my program director, still my boss. And this is back in 2002, 2003. And I remember we did part of the interview at the Budweiser Brewery during the tour. I'm like, oh, this is sweet, man. This is awesome. And I wound up getting hired and wound up moving out here. And I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to be out here for 2 years, 3 years the most. And I'm going to move back. I'm going to return triumphantly to New York City. And I'm still here. But I love it here. I love St. Louis. It's a great city.
What do you think of the negative attention that they have been getting for the last, let's say 14 months since everything happened in Ferguson around August 2014? What's your take on that?
Well, listen, people got to give this city a chance. Everything is not Ferguson.
Exactly.
Everything is not Ferguson. Ferguson is its own thing. That's its own little area. It's kind of a suburb of St. Louis.
Yeah.
And I will say this: last year, when all the stuff in Ferguson went down, after basically people burned down their own city, the next day we were on the air. I think it was Tuesday. It was Monday or Tuesday, and basically it was chaos here. And we all get to the office, and the guys look at me, and they say, hey, what are we going to do today? We can't do a normal show. I said, you're right. I said, let's just throw out the schedule and let's just go on the air and just go see what happens. Let's just have an open, honest discussion about what's going on in St. Louis and what's going on in Ferguson. And it was the best 4 hours of radio I've ever done. We wound up winning an award for it, Missouri Broadcast Association award for the Ferguson broadcast. It was just, black people calling in, white people calling in, National Guard members calling in, people who were up there, newspaper reporters who were up there who had their camera equipment stolen. Why is this person pissed off? Why is that person pissed off? It was open, honest dialogue, and it was great.
What is the key when there is something negative happening and it's happening on the fly in real time? What is the key as the host, since you don't have the most prep, to just putting on the best show possible?
You hate to say it, but you kind of get into broadcasting for situations like that. I was in New York City during 9/11.
Yeah.
And I was at the radio station In fact, I was one of the only people who was able to make it to the radio station because they had shut the city down, and people who lived in Jersey and people who lived in Long Island couldn't get into the radio station. So being that I was in Manhattan already, I was able to get to the station and help with the broadcasts. Again, you hate to say that you get into broadcasting to be around tragedy.
Yeah.
You don't hope for tragedy, but you kind of want to be the guy that everybody's listening to, giving out information, calming people down, giving the facts. And you kind of just run off instinct.
What is your take on fake outrage in 2015? Because you're very outspoken about the fake outrage, and that's my whole goal, is to wake up the goddamn moronic millennials that don't seem to get it.
It's disgusting.
Right?
Fake outrage.
Ugh, I hate it.
Now, how old are you?
I'm 22.
You're 22. Okay. So for people your age, is it cool to be pissed off at everything, or is it?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't understand.
To me, what I think it is they're so used to it happening that they think it's a norm. And with social media and Tumblr, where you can write these pathetic blogs, they think it's normal when one dude who didn't like the Kiss Cam in Syracuse shuts it down. I heard you talk about it. I ranted about it. We are going down.
Did you see that guy's picture?
No. What does he look like?
His wife. It was him and his wife, and I'm thinking, man, this guy has probably no genitalia at all. I mean, this guy clearly has his wife running the show. What man would say what he said? And I forget what his exact quote was, but he's like, oh, it's misogynistic, or, I forget what it was, but I'm like, what man would say this?
He is whipped.
Oh, my God. And did you hear, like, Jerry Seinfeld, not so long ago, said he won't tour colleges anymore because he's worried about everybody that's being offended all the time, and it's this fake outrage. I don't get it, Ryan. What's wrong with people?
I think it's people are just trying to find something to bitch about because they see that with social media. You have the outlet to get noticed in a second, so they build this ego. And they think, oh, if he can complain about something, let me find something to complain about. Like, were people that mad at Target? It was one mommy that wrote a blog, and she shut everything down. It's like we literally are in the movie Idiocracy, Rizz. It's getting really bad.
You know what it is? I think it's people think that everybody's opinion does not count.
Exactly, dude. Thank you.
You know what I mean? You hate to say it, but, I don't care what you think.
I know. Thank you. Why can't everyone be like you and me that think this way? That's my whole goal. If that happened,
we would live in an awesome world.
Oh, it'd be kick-ass, dude. That is my goal in radio, dude, is to wake up my dumb generation. I don't care if you're offended. My other thing.
If I were to give you some advice, okay, just be real about stuff. Stop with the fake outrage. Stop with the, you don't have to be controversial for the sake of being controversial.
I'm never like that. I am always myself.
That's what you have to do, because people see through the BS. If there's anything I learned, it's people see through BS, and they'll call you out on it, and then they'll just not listen. But just be yourself, and everything doesn't have to be outrageous, and every single thing, it doesn't have to ride the line of decency or indecency. Just be you. And people want to hear that.
What do you think of the word shock jock? Because I guess you would sort of go into it. I guess me being outspoken sort of goes into it.
I cringe when I even hear that term, because really, what is that? I don't. What really is shocking is telling the truth shocking,
right?
Is that where we're at now? Is where somebody is honest on the radio and just having a discussion, just busting balls and breaking balls with his buddies? Is that so shocking?
Yes.
Really break that down. Like, think about that. Like, just being an honest dude, is that shocking? See, to me, like, strippers and bits and, outrageousness, just to be outrageous, I mean, I guess that's shock.
No, it's not.
Shocking. I don't know.
Dude,
that's not me.
You can watch weird porn on Pornhub. That's more shocking. Watching Two Girls, One Cup or any of that crap, no pun intended, is more shocking than when guys speak the truth on the radio. Oh, my God, dude, I despise that word.
Yeah. Look, the world we live in.
Or, Rizz, I love whenever someone writes a blog about, let's say, your show, or they'll tweet me and they'll say they're Howard copycats. What, just because we speak our mind? Like, what does that even mean? I am so sick of hearing.
A Howard copycat. Now, let me ask, what does that mean to you? I wish I was a Howard copycat. I wish I had what Howard had. I wish I made $250 million a year. I would love to.
Or like a Howard wannabe.
Howard wannabe. Of course I want to be Howard. I wouldn't make his money, and I want to have his audience. It'd be fantastic. Howard didn't – listen, Howard was an innovator. I mean, I don't know ever how to take that. Like, I don't know if that's an insult or is that hey, thanks. I don't know how to take that. Listen, I could just be me. That's what I could be. I don't listen to Howard Stern show and go, well, he said this or he did this, so I'm going to do it the next day.
Exactly.
I don't have guests on the air. Howard has guests all the time. I don't have a whack pack. I don't have that. So just being on the radio, talking about news stories and celebrity stories and hanging out with your friends, I mean, that's being a Howard wannabe? All right, well, I guess I am. Fine. I don't care. Listen, as long as you listen, I don't care.
How have the fans embraced you in St. Louis?
Oh, dude, everybody's great here. Like, everybody's great. Like, people come out to our gigs and, everybody's respectful.
Yeah.
And, man, this is an awesome city. And people are into music and people are into radio still. That's why St. Louis is great. It's a great sports town. It's a great, great music town. They got decent food here. I'm looking, I have woods in my backyard and there's deer back there. I could see that. It's nice here.
Is it ever weird when you see some of your rivals maybe in public?
I don't really have many, rivals per se. There's one thing I don't like either is these wars. I mean, that's an old radio cliche in my opinion. You do your thing, I'll do mine thing.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care. May the best man win. May the best man win on the content I see the competition. I mean, there's 4 radio stations in our building. Okay, so that means there's 4 morning shows in our building. And we're all in the same hallway. And there's no animus. There's no fighting. It's ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous. There's a guy here that he used to have the number 1 show in St. Louis years ago. And he's now been relegated to this small radio station just outside the city limits. And this guy talks crap about me every day, trying to get me to bite.
Yeah.
Trying to get me to talk about him. But listen, all these radio wars,
Before I let you go, Rizz, because this has been so much fun, where can people find your work online and on the radio?
Oh, it's 1057thepoint.com/Rizz, R-I-Z-Z. And the socials are @Rizz Show. That's it. I mean, I hope I didn't bore you.
Oh, no, not at all, dude. I felt bad that I interrupted you because you were just so fascinating, man, because I hear you on the show and you're real and you're outspoken, but you just opened up my mind to everything in life, dude. Like, this was some real radio, Rizz.
See, again, you and I have similar paths.
Yeah.
Like, we're doing the same thing. There was no podcasting when I was coming up. Listen, I don't think a radio station even had a website back in '98 when I started in radio. But I mean, you're doing your thing, man, and keep at it. And just remember, don't treat everybody the same, because you never know in the course of your career when you're going to come upon that person again. And it's a very small industry, and it's very incestuous, and everybody knows everybody, and everybody knows if you're a good guy, and everybody knows if you're a bad guy. Don't be the bad guy, because you never know.
I promise, Rizz. Well, Rizz, man, keep up the good work. I listen every day while I'm at the gym. Your morning show's intro pumps me up, and I love the content.
And listen, I want you to make me a promise whenever somebody goes, hey, who's your influences? You mention my name.
I promise. I will say Rizzuto from 1057 The Point.
All right, thanks, buddy.
All right, thanks, Rizz.
All right, man. Talk soon.
All right, bye.
Buddy. See ya.
And that was Rizzuto from 105.7 The Point in St. Louis as he called into Happy Hour to talk about his career and everything he does in radio. I really look up to what he does. It might go under the category of hot talk. That's what The Bone does. And it's real outspoken radio where you speak your mind and you tell it like it is, and it can work because every city that has it, it does work. And that is my goal. I want to be the outspoken millennial who speaks the truth, never does any forced bits, and always tells it like it is. And that's what I'm going to keep doing. This has been Happy Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe, saying peace out.
Happy Hour. Happy Hour.
This is an official broadcast of Hoppe Radio. For more info, check out hopperadio.com and hoppesworld.com.